Hello, everybody. I think that this might be recording. At least I hope it is, because we're going to talk about all things angles. Okay, it's really important to get the basics of what angles are and how we draw them, and especially the algebra that we have here. Okay, so with our all things angles, the first thing we need to do is talk about what an angle is. Okay, an angle is formed when two rays, right? So here's ray BA. BA is the ray that starts at B and goes in the direction of A. Okay, and then we have ray BC, which is the ray that starts at B and goes in the direction of point C. Okay, so that is what an angle is. It's formed by a couple of rays, and let me move this little point. A couple of rays here. Let's put that point back on here. And that forms an angle. Two rays form an angle. Okay, so here we have this. So there's a couple ways that we name these angles. Okay, one way is we can name it by its vertex. So this is the vertex point. If we simply say this is angle B, then that's talking about the angle with B as its vertex. Okay, it's really easy if it's just a single two rays. Really nice. Okay, we could also name it by using three letters with the vertex in the middle. So this could also be angle ABC, right? Because A and C are points on your rays, but B is still the vertex. Okay, or we could replace this and make it C to B to A. Same angle, only now we're just going in this order. Okay, there might also be like a little letter inside if you're like angle X, maybe. Okay, if we called it that. So there's three ways that we can name angles, but most of them use points or the vertex. Okay. So the next one is a linear pair. So a linear pair are two adjacent angles who add up to 180. So we draw that by first starting off with a straight line, and then you can get somewhere here in the middle and you can draw another ray going off. Okay, so these ones add up to 180. So if this is maybe 80 degrees, this one has to be 100 degrees. Okay, we always use the degree symbol when we're talking about angles. Okay, so these are two angles that add up to 180. Okay, they're adjacent, they share a common ray here, and that's how we do a linear pair. Okay, so if you know two angles are a linear pair, then you know that they add up to 180. Okay, now here's another very important distinction. If two measures, so the measure of an angle is what we use a little m for. If the measure of angle A equals the measure of angle B. Okay, so the measure is talking about the degree. Like 100 degrees is the measure of this angle, and 80 degrees is the measure of this angle. Okay, measures can be equal because numbers can be equal. 80 degrees equals 80 degrees. Okay, so if their measures, if their actual degrees are the same, then the angles are equal. That means that their angles themselves are congruent. So angle A is congruent. So congruent means having the exact same measure or the exact same length. So if we're talking about congruent angles, notice we don't use the little m symbol. Okay, m stands for measure. So if we're not talking about the degree, we don't use the m. And if we are talking about the degree, you do use the m. Okay, so this is talking about a degree of angle B. This is just talking about angle B itself. So if we have a couple of angles next to each other, they can have a couple of properties. One of them is complementary angles. Complementary angles are those that add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so complementary angles, two complementary angles are those that form a right angle when you put them together. Okay, maybe this is 25 degrees and this would be 65 degrees. Okay, adding up to 90. So 25 plus 65 is 90. These are two complementary angles. Supplementary angles, on the other hand, are ones that add up to 180. Like up there before, we talked about some supplementary angles. So if this one is 110 degrees, this one is 70 degrees. Okay, now they don't have to be adjacent. Okay, if this 65-degree angle is over here and this 25-degree angle is over there, okay, as long as these two add up to 180, they are still complementary. They don't have to be adjacent angles. Okay, so if this 70-degree angle and this 110-degree angle are around each other. They don't even have to be around each other. This should be switched, huh? These don't look good. How about we make this one 70 and this one 110? That looks better, huh? It's okay if it doesn't, right? The picture does not have to match up with the numbers. Okay, just remember that. Your brain wants it to, and your eyeballs want them to, but they don't have to. Okay, so this 70-degree angle here and that 110 over there are supplementary, even though they're not adjacent. Okay, they don't form a linear pair. Now the last one, and a very important one, is a vertical angle. So when two lines or two segments cross, they make four angles. Okay, can you see the four angles that they make? They make angles 1, 2, 3, and 4. So vertical angles are in a very special place. They are across from each other. So angle 4 and angle 2 are vertical angles because they're in a vertical position. Even though they're technically horizontal to each other, they're still called vertical angles. Okay, because I can rotate this. The orientation doesn't matter for them to be vertical. So also here, angle 1 and angle 3 are also vertical angles. Okay, so that's just what we call them. That's the definition of being vertical. Now their relationship is very interesting. So if they're across from each other, then they must be equal. So vertical angles are equal, or they're congruent. So their measures are equal. The measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 3. So the algebra here is equality. We're going to be setting these things equal, where we add up supplementaries to 180 and we add up complementaries to 90. If they are vertical angles, we're setting them equal. Okay, very important to know what the algebra is with these ones. How do they relate mathematically? Okay, so that's a little bit about angles, how we name them, some special things about them, and how they relate.